Hey Professor, welcome to my video presentation. My name is Dirgh Patel and today I'll be discussing about a case study related about a medical implant risk analysis by a company named Corazon. The focus of my discussion will be on the multifaceted issues at the intersection of medical technology, of law and ethics. As we have seen that advancements in the medical implants continue to evolve, so do our responsibilities to ensure that all these technologies are both safe as well as effective for patients' use. I will begin by examining the social importance of medical implants, followed by an explanation of ethical dilemmas and its challenges, corporate responsibilities, legal frameworks, and I will conclude with a synthesis of how all these aspects interrelate. So, medical implants, such as pacemakers or joint replacements, significantly contribute to the quality of life for many individuals. They serve not only essential functions, but it also monitors health data. It all manages chronic conditions. Also, in some cases, saving lives. However, with such technological advancements, it comes with risk and it must be meticulously analyzed and addressed to protect patients' sensitive data, and it should also uphold an ethical standards in healthcare. So this is all about an introduction of my case study, and I'll be moving to next slide. So next slide is all about the introduction. So, Corazon is a medical technology company. It's vastly known for developing an advanced implantable heart health monitoring device. Their mission is not only to provide secure and accessible healthcare solutions, but it also adheres that it should compliance with regulatory standards. The company prides itself there on its commitments to its patient safety as well as innovations. However, a recent vulnerability was identified within their systems that has sparked an ethical debate. I will dive deeper on into what the vulnerability is and how it affects the patient safety and the trusts. Uh, this analysis also examines that Corazon's ethical responsibilities, their potential security risks, as well as their broader implications of cybersecurity in the medical field. So moving to the next slide, there are some ethical principles from ACM. There are many of them. Some of them I have my visuals on this slide. So I'll just save some of them. So first one is social well-being, avoid unfair bias, accountability, value alignment, governable, human-centered, etc. So I have taken the three principles from ACM. First one is how it contributes to society and human well-being. Principle second is how respect privacy. Third principle is to ensure that public good is the central concern. So moving to the next slide, I will broadly explain how it contributes to society and human well-being. So moving it to next slide. So contribute. So I'll just begin with the fundamental principle in the creation of medical implants. Uh, it must prioritize contributing to society. The hallmark of medical innovation should be improvement in human well-being. This is not merely about profit generation or market dominance. However, I believe that it reflects a profound ethical commitment to save individuals who rely on doctors and on particularly on those devices for their health and safety. The development of life-saving technology and the implants devices such as defibrillators, insulin pumps, and it also demonstrate how deeply intertwined medical technology is with societal needs. It is also essential to ensure that it is equitable healthcare through collaborative efforts and that should reach underserved communities. This commitment often maintains a partnership between healthcare and organizations as well as with charities. It is also a driving access to those who might not afford the necessary implants and necessary devices for them curing their disease. Moreover, also, this principle emphasizes that the social benefit over financial gain. Uh, Companies must always weigh their financial pursuits with the implications and that their technology have on the lives of patients. A strong ethical foundation must drive decision making processes to ensure that the innovation should contribute some of the positively to society health outcomes without any inequalities. It's about moving to second slide is about respect privacy. So the device is not only monitoring health metrics but also stores sensitive data of patients' life and their whole medical history. The company Horizon adheres that to strict privacy measures. It aligns with some of the standards like HIPAA and GDPR. They align with them and they protect the patient's information very clearly. I believe that protecting patient's data is as much as crucial since a breach or even a small hack could lead to devastating consequences for individuals, including theft, identity theft, and also like a cyber attack. Moving to the third slide is about public good as a central concern. So every decision that corrosion complies, it makes concerns on the public good. With the recent of vulnerability and the recent market trends, I believe that the identity theft and cyberity attacks is at the high level. So so that commitment is only like to addressing and publicizing the issue demonstrates a dedication to prioritize patients' safety. So moving to the fourth slide, it's all about other ethical principles. There are over three of them. So the first one I have chose that fairness in healthcare. The second one is protecting others, and the third one is business responsibility versus greed. So we will discuss in further presentation about each and every ethical principles in detail. So let's dive into it. So what are the fairness in healthcare? Like a societal ethical ethics and legal ethics. So fairness in healthcare means that medical devices should be accessible to all the people who are suffering from illness or maybe from disease. Uh, so it should be accessible to those who cannot afford. Uh, it should be accessible to all. Corrosion partners with charities to reduce that cost implants and the devices for only low-income patients and ensuring equal rights to all the people in medical access. Also, ethical fairness also implies that how they handle security issues. They are ensuring a fair disclosure. They did not hide the flow. Also, they worked with the researchers to ensure that they are risk-free to the public. So it's just about how they handle all the security issues with their own compliance and regulatory bodies. Moving to the next slide. So the second principle is about protecting others for personal and professional ethics. So some of the medical technologies and even multinational medical technologies have normal obligations or a moral obligations to protect patients from any harm they occur. So by working with some of the cybersecurity experts, the company ensures uh, that the device remains as safe as possible from potential cyber threats and malware attacks. The initialization value, the hard coded in the device, poses as a risk, but instead of ignoring it, it acknowledges it and begin accessing solutions and removing the attacks from the device and from the system. The main funda is often discussed in medical ethics where doctors and engineers both meet and m- they prioritize over well-being of patients over their technology convenience and their salary. Moving to the third question. Third question is about business responsibility and versus greed for business and professional ethics. So what are the business responsibility and their and versus the greed? So I believe that some companies might choose to cover security flaws to protect their reputation and stock value. However, I also believe that Corazon took a responsible and ethical approach by addressing and acknowledging the vulnerability issues that they suffered. Their commitment to ongoing improvement shows that they prioritize long-term trust over short-term financial gains. Uh, they also practices uh, require companies to take corporate social responsibility like CSR seriously, that ensures that the profits never come at the expense of human safety. And moving to the next slide, what are the ethical discussions on corrosion actions? So, from an ethical standpoint of view, the company's approach to medical implant security and vulnerability disclosure aligns with the ACM Code of Ethics principles. That decision is to incorporate standard cryptographic security, and not only it maintains an open bug bounty program, but also it collaborates with government regulatory agencies that demonstrates a communication and commitment pathway to ethical software development as well as and in a safe patient safety. However, the discovery of a hard-coded initialization value uh, introduces an element of concern. That design choice well possibly made for simplicity and reliability. It also introduces a security risk that could be exploited. According to a survey that I got to know when I researched about this case study was on security issues in modern implantable devices. The values which were hard-coded cryptographic often weaken security as they become predictable over time and attackers find an easy way to attack the whole system. So, I personally believe that companies should consider potential firmware updates or an alternative security patches to mitigate the risk. The also that moreover, the company's collaboration with independent researchers and swift risk assessment align with ethical practices. Security, transparency, as well as third-party evaluations are crucial in medical security. So moving to the next slide, mm, there are some of the role play perspectives on ethical implications. So there are four of them. The first one is victim's perspective or an harmed individual. The second perspective is of corporation involved in that implications. The third one is about a society in general, and the last one is about law enforcement or a legal perspective in ethical implications. So let's dive into the first one, the victim's perspective. So what is victim's perspective? So from the viewpoint of patients, a trust is paramount. Like a trust is the base of an company's future. Any vulnerability that compromises the reliability of a life-saving devices raises an ethical concerns regarding patients' well-being and patients' privacy. So uh, I believe that predictability of a device reset is at very high much of risk. Also, it empathizes patients' well-being and any technological failure, it could lead to device malfunction, even if it's likely and is a violation of patient's trust. There are some references that I have mentioned in the bottom of the slides that I have recently, like I have thoroughly researched about that, and I even read the whole article on this site. It was showing that how can victims' perspective or harmed individual can um, ca- are major concerns and what are the device risk as is at par. Moving to the next slide, uh, let's discuss about how can perspective of corporation involved in ethical implications. Ethical implications. So, from the corporate perspective, the flaw presents both security as well as functionality risks. The corporation might justify the hard-coded value as a necessary trade-off, justify the hard code value between security as well as functionality. However, business ethical responsibility might suggest that company prioritize long-term safety over short-term ease of implication. That should not be done, to be honest. But a corporation might argue that since no actual harm has been made or demonstrated, so regular intervention should be measured. So moving to the third slide, it's all about the perspective of society in general related to ethical implications. So what society think? Society would likely view companies' corrosion's response favorably, as like the company is taking like if co- like what are the responsible steps, and is company taking responsible steps and doing a regular checkup to address the potential risk. However, this case raises a broader concerns about the security of medical devices that is being used in whole company, like as a whole. It also should awareness public about that cybersecurity in healthcare is increasing day by day, and regulatory bodies may push for stricter standards and regulations o- over the period. The last slide is about perspective of legal or law enforcement in ethical implications. So, from a legal perspective, the presence of vulnerability might prompt a discussion about liability. If vulnerability leads to harm, then who will be responsible for that? If an exploit led to harm, corrosion could face legal consequences under products liability laws. Then who will be responsible? Is this the corrosion responsible for that harm? However, since the vulnerability doesn't appear to cause a significant harm, regularity might oversight rather than litigation may be the responsive appropriate response. So what I feel that if harm doesn't appear and it is not as much as important as like a minor, then it should be liberal that litigation may be the appropriate response. It complies with security laws, and it also has regulatory oversight versus litigation. So that's all about the perspective and role plays in ethical implications. So moving to the last question of the assignment, what are the emerging technologies? So Professor, I've selected two topics out of the five. The first one is IoT, and I'll explain IoT in this slide, and I'll explain what is and what are the emerging technologies in encryption, which is the second topic I have selected. I'll explain it in next slide. So moving explaining about IoT. So I'll explain the summary of IoT, what is IoT and what it can be in technology. So IoT, mainly known as Internet of Things, it refers to the network of interconnected data or devices that communicate with each other and share data over the internet. This device includes any random device which has ability to do smart things like smart devices, smart home gadgets, medical equipment, industrial machines, and many more. While IoT enhances the efficiency, it also has more convenience. But it while it enhances, it also has issues. So there are four type of issues which rose in recent years. The first one is legal, second one is ethical, third one is societal, and fourth one is moral. So I'll talk about legal issues. So in legal, there are many rapid adoption of IoT. It has led to various legal concerns, particularly in data privacy and security. One key legislation was passed in California, Senate Bill number 327, which mandates that the manufacturers implement reasonable security features in IoT devices to protect against unauthorized access, modification, and disclosure of user data. Additionally, such as other legislation bill like GDPR is in Europe, and the CCPA, California Consumer Protection Act in California. It imposes strict guidelines on IoT data collection and storage. Despite this much efforts, it compliance remains a challenge due to the global nature of IoT and varying legal frameworks in different regions. So talking about the second issue, ethical issues. So IoT in healthcare presents significant ethical issues and concern, especially regarding patients' data security and consent. So for example, a smart device collects a vast amount of health data, which not only can be misused, uh, but it can only be like which can be misused if not protected regularly. So ethical concerns may arise regarding who owns this data. The patient owns data, or the healthcare provider, or the device manufacturer. So additionally, the potential for unauthorized data sharing with the third parties poses a significant and serious ethical dilemma. The IoT also ensures that system respect patients' privacy and operate transparently throughout a major ethical challenge. Talking about the last slide and talking about the last issue, talking about the societal issue. So societal concerns surrounding IoT revolve around security risks and cyber threats. While IoT devices improve patients monitoring and authorization and automate many aspects of healthcare, they also even introduce new vulnerabilities. Hackers can exploit weak security and in IoT device to launch cyber attacks. It disrupt essential it disrupt essential medical services, or it can also manipulate devices functionalities. The broader concern is the impact on public safety and trust in IoT technologies. As well as IoT adoption grows, society must invest in robust cybersecurity measures to mitigate and solve these risks. So, talking about the last issue, the moral issue. So, the growing reliance on automated systems throughout IoT raises a moral question about balancing convenience and security. So, while IoT improves efficiency, it also diminishes human oversight, which can have significant consequences in the present. So, for example, automated decision making in healthcare, such as AI driven diagnosis tools, decision may overlook critical human factors as a human can look into a patient. Additionally, modern concerns and moral concerns arises when IoT devices collect personal data without explicit user knowledge or consent. A striking can balance between a technological progress and ethical responsible remains responsibility. It also remains a key moral challenge. So IoT is not only a transformative technology, but it also has immense benefits. It also introduces some of the issues like legal, ethical, societal, and moral issues. But to ensure that IoT remains safe and remains beneficial, stakeholders, including government, businesses, consumers, it must work together to establish strong relations, regulations, ethical guidelines, and security measures. So, moving to the next part of the question. So, Professor, I've selected encryption in my second topic, to the five. So, what is encryption? So, encryption is a fundamental aspect of cybersecurity that protects data by converting it into an unreadable code that only can be deciphered with a specific key. Encryption safeguards sensitive information such as financial transactions, personal messages, also confidential business data. However, it also presents four issues and challenges like legal, ethical, societal, moral. I'll explain this in detail. So, first one is legal challenges. So, encryption policies are very globally, leading to legal conflicts between privacy rights and law enforcement needs. Government also argue that strong encryption prevents them from accessing data needed for cyber needed for criminal investigations, while privacy advocates emphasize that weakening encryption compromises user security. For instance, some governments have purpose backdoor access to encrypted communication, which security experts argue that it could be exploited by cybercriminals or even hackers. So this debate goes over encryption laws, and it also remains unsolved, as balancing privacy and security is a complex legal challenge. So what is ethical challenges? So the ethical dilemma in encryption, it revolves around whether users should have absolute privacy or not. And even if it means law enforcement, it cannot access criminal communication. So privacy is a fundamental human right, but it is unrestricted encryption and can be misused for legal activities. It also has arose a question that whether technology companies should be responsible for enabling authorities to access encrypted data, or it is responsible whether they should prioritize user security data above all else. So, like striking an ethical balance between privacy and lawful access remains an ongoing debate. So, societal issue. So, encryption significantly impacts society by protecting user security and securing financial transactions. So, however, it also enables cyber criminals or hackers to operate undetected. Criminals can also exploit encrypted platforms for illegal activities such as drug trafficking, terrorism, money laundering, and cyber fraud. This creates a societal dilemma that should government impose stricter controls on encryption, or should they allow users to have unrestricted security? So public policy discussions continue to focus on how to ensure security without compromising individual freedoms. So the last one is moral. So the moral obligation surrounding encryption lies in protecting users' data, like while it ensures national security. If encryption is too strong to hack, or it is too strong, it may prevent law enforcement from investigating crimes, putting potentially at society at higher risk. On the other hand, if encryption is weakened, individuals' private information may be become vulnerable to hacking and surveillance. The moral challenge is to determine on how much access should be granted to authorities while preserving the integrity of encryption systems. In conclusion of this emerging technologies in encryption, like encryption is not only an essential for data security, but it also presents significant legal, ethical, societal, and moral challenges. Not only government but also tech companies and civil rights organizations must collaborate to find a balanced solutions that ensure security while respecting privacy. So moving to the last slide about the conclusion. Moving to the last slide of my presentation, to conclude up that the analysis of medical plant implant risks encompasses a vast landscape of ethical, corporate, and legal considerations. As technological advancements continue to shape the future of healthcare, we must remain vigilant in our commitment to prioritize patient safety, its privacy, its commitment, and towards its ethical standards. Uh, I happen to know that the balance between innovation, security, and ethical responsibility is delicate yet crucial. For medical technology to thrive in the future, it is essential that all the stakeholders, as well as manufacturers, healthcare professionals, even doctors and patients, should collaborate together in fostering a culture of safety and trust. To build a sustainable future in the healthcare, we must acknowledge that the importance of legal frameworks that guides ethic principles while encouraging continuous innovations. It is through this collaborative that it informs approach and that we can still ensure that medical implants contribute positively to society. It also upholds patients' rights, and it should cultivate a healthcare environment rooted in trust. As we continue to advance our technologically improvements, it is very crucial that the ethical principles guide our decision to ensure that we must protect our patients' sensitive information, and it should be provide an equitable access to our healthcare system. By learning from corrosion experiences as well as from its case study, uh, I believe that we can still promote a culture of accountability, transparency, and dedication to human well-being in the medical technology space in the upcoming future. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you, Professor, and thanks.